Hello, everyone. Before we jump into this episode, I just wanted to let you all know that this episode was heavily edited, not because of any kind of technical difficulties, more so human difficulties. I ended up with quite a dry mouth and throat while recording this episode, so it's going to sound like I'm going to be pausing quite a bit throughout this episode. I did do my best to condense it down so that there were a lot of longer breaks that I had to cut out. So you won't hear that, obviously, but I just wanted you all to know that if my voice sounds a bit crackly or if it's a little out of breath sounding, it's fine. I was okay when I recorded the episode. I just had a very dry mouth and throat. So because doing a solo podcast is not usually my thing and I don't do it very often, the amount of talking I end up doing, and especially considering the fact that it's almost 2 hours long, there was just a lot happening with my speech, and especially the fact that living in Australia, it is quite dry down here, and the room that I'm in is also quite dry. So I ended up with not such a great sounding voice for you all. So probably about half an hour in, it's going to start declining a little bit. So I do apologize. Please forgive me. I will do my best to rectify this for future episodes. I have invested in a humidifier, so that is on the way, and hopefully that will help. But without further ado, let's get on with the show. Manage to find myself going down memory lane whenever I find something old lying around. Like, for instance, this week, or maybe last week actually. Last week, I ended up coming across my PS1 Slim. Yeah, that's right. I still have that little thing, that little grey box. It's so tiny. So the reason for me finding it, I was actually looking for it because I knew I still had it. And I ended up finding it in the TV unit out in the living room. And I also found the games that I used to play on them, which wasn't very many, to be honest. I've only got like 6 games on the PS1 Slim that I ever owned, and I think they were the only 6 that I really enjoyed because they were the only ones that I had, so I had no choice. I didn't know that there were other games out there, although whenever I visited a cousin's house, I'd see them with a game that looked really cool, and they also had a PlayStation 1, but they had the original big grey, dark grey box, like the giant PlayStation 1 that first came out. So I wasn't even aware that, young Fuji had no idea that that was the exact same thing as the one that I had, only mine was the smaller version. And so they were playing all these games, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I want to play those ones. But most of those games that my cousins were playing, and let me just preface the fact that most of my cousins here in Australia are male. The ones that are around kind of my age, a little bit older, they're all male. And so they all got the video game experience growing up, where they got all the consoles that they wanted from their parents. Whereas I was only given a select few games to play with and certain video gaming consoles to play with. So because my parents couldn't really afford to go out of their way to buy the new gen consoles all the time. So whenever a PlayStation came out, I always ended up with the slim version. So when the first PlayStation originally released, obviously I didn't get the big grey box, so I had to wait. And then my parents ended up buying the PS1 Slim that I do own and I still have, and ended up having it modded so that I could play, so that I can end up playing other games for a cheaper price. That would help out my parents at least, so that me and my sister wouldn't get too bored. And in that instance, it made it a lot easier for them to buy games for me. So, and I appreciated that, but it just meant that there were certain games that I could play and then certain games that I couldn't play. But my parents also made sure that I didn't play too many violent games, so I didn't own any of the fighter games at all, any shooter games. So growing up, I was very, what's the word I'm looking for? So my parents kind of, can't think of the word. What is it? Overprotective. My parents were overprotective. They didn't want me to be constantly looking at anything too violent. They obviously wanted to make sure that my sister and I were, not privy to those kind of images. So, growing up, the type of games that we played were not the style of games that a lot of other people grew up with, like your fighter games and your shooter games and anything bloody or horror or anything like that. So we ended up with a lot of the sort of like more tame, more sort of child-friendly games. And although you won't see them, I do have those games next to me. So, and you'll probably hear me clanging the cases around and all that sort of stuff. So I do have the 6 games that we owned on the PlayStation, on the PS1. And one of them was my introduction to racing games, and that was Wacky Races by Warner Brothers and Infogrames. Infogrames? Yes. And it was one of the shows that you would have seen on Cartoon Network back in the day. So this was definitely the game. This game was based off the show itself, Wacky Races. Obviously, it has Dick Dastardly and Muttley as the evil pair with their carts, and then you had I think her name was Penelope. Oh my goodness, it was Penelope something. Give me a second. Whoops. Wacky Races characters. Penelope Pitstop, that's the one. So you were able to play with Penelope Pitstop as well. She was in there. Rock Slag was in there. Who else was there? There were so many. There were so many characters from the show that was actually in the game itself. So the Slag Brothers, Peter Perfect, Penelope Pitstop, the Gruesome Twosome, who else was in there? The Anthill Mob, I think, was potentially in there as well. There's quite a few different characters in there, and I just loved playing this game. It was so much fun. It was kind of similar to a Mario Kart, although back then I never really played Mario Kart. So Wacky Races was the game that I ended up with. Now the PS1 Slim actually was released in Japan in 1994, but then it came to Australia in November of 1995. So it was a good year before the PlayStation console itself came down to Australia. However, the actual PS1 Slim, so the really small version, was released in 2000 by the looks of things. Yes, so the main PlayStation was released back in 1994. However, the PS1 Slim, was released in the year 2000. And young Fuji was, I believe, 8 years old when she got the PS1 Slim, and that was actually kind of cool. So as I said, Wacky Races was one of the games that I owned and I played back in the day, and that was my introduction into racing games, and I really loved it. Another Warner Brothers game that came to PlayStation was Bugs Bunny Lost in Time, and I really, really had a hard time with this game for some reason. I just could not get past the introductory level, the tutorial level, if you will, and that was one of the games that really stumped me as a kid. So I don't know. I feel like I might be able to play this now, and adult me is probably going to fly through the game pretty quickly. And so I feel like I could easily, look, I don't know. I might have to play the game and find out and see how difficult it was to pass the actual tutorial stage. But, I mean, I could play it. The inspiration for this particular episode of the podcast was thanks to my PS1 Slim, because in the last few days, I've been trying to get it to work. So when I found the console itself, I didn't find any of the AV cables, nor could I find the actual DC adapter. So I'm not sure what my parents have done with them when they were packing it away, when they've been moving things around in the TV unit. They left the console in there with the controller, which is dead, by the way, unfortunately. But they didn't leave the cables in there for some reason. They left the games in there, the console and the controller, but no cables. So I had to go out of my way to actually find them online. Luckily, Amazon was my savior. I managed to find the correct, or at least a similar DC adapter that I was able to put in the right connections to them, because it came with a few different tips. And then I was also able to adjust the voltage on the DC adapter, which was really good too. So I really appreciated that, and it wasn't very expensive at all, which I was very happy with. So I ended up getting a new adapter so that it could power up the PlayStation, and then I found myself also looking for the AV cables, so that I can at least see and hear what I'm playing on the PlayStation. And I also managed to find that on Amazon as well. So I bought those two together and had them shipped out. Luckily, in 24 hours, I was able to receive it. So it was a really quick delivery. So I've been trying to get that to work. Managed to get it to work. The TV that I have right now still has AV connections, inputs. Surprising, I know. A lot of people have upgraded to, smart TVs and LED TVs. I, however, have my Sony Bravia, which is an LCD TV with the glass framing, and I believe it's about I think it's a 48 or a 50-inch maybe TV. I need to measure it up. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, I still have that old TV, and it still has the AV inputs. So I was lucky enough to be able to test to see whether or not the PlayStation even switched on, which it does live. It lives, it works, it is totally fine. The image quality, yeah, not so great. It's still visible. I can still see everything. Unfortunately, it's not your, your HD crystal clear sort of imaging like it was kind of back in the day almost. Not really. On your, CRT TVs. But I managed to get the PlayStation to at least power on, and I put in a game, and by some miracle it actually still works. It still works. And then I went to plug in the one controller that I have, but unfortunately it was not doing anything. I was pressing all of the buttons and no button was, communicating with the PlayStation. So it means that the controller died. So unfortunately, that is now just going to be a little display memento, I suppose. You might see it on my shelf behind me when I do my streams. So it is now on the shelf, just there to look pretty and be remembered. Because the controller doesn't work. But Fuji, how are you going to play your games without a controller, you ask? Well, that was another thing I had to do a little Google for. I jumped back onto the Amazons, and I did a quick search there to see what was available for me to buy. I did originally type in, PS1 controller or PlayStation 1 controller, but there weren't very many options. They were giving me a lot of third-party options that didn't look the same. But then I came across the 8-bit Do, or 8-bit Do, however you want to pronounce that, a controller receiver for the PlayStation 1 that I could use either a PS4 or a PS5 controller via Bluetooth with. So I was stumped. I was like, this is a thing? People actually buy these still? Like, it's like people want this? Like, and I was so surprised when I found this online, and I was like scratching my head. I'm like, oh, is this actually going to work though? Because there's like it. I have a PS5, so I've got the DualSense controller, and if it said that it was the receiver was compatible with the DualSense controller, so I was like, I mean, it's probably worth trying out and seeing whether it will work. So I thought, you know what? Let me just buy it. It's not that expensive. I mean, I say it's not that expensive. Out of all the pieces of tech that I had to buy to make this PlayStation work, the controller receiver, Bluetooth receiver, was the most expensive piece, which was, I think, 40 Australian dollars. So I was like, I mean, if it's going to work with my DualSense controller, then I think it'll be worth it. So I bought it, and then I've been trying to fiddle around with it to make it work. So I received it yesterday at the time of recording, and I plugged it in, and I was trying to pair it with my controller, and nothing was happening. My controller was in pair mode, I thought, and it wasn't doing anything. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to leave it for today. And I moved on to today instead. So today, at the time of recording, I decided that I would try again to get my controller to pair up with this receiver that I had plugged into my PS1 Slim. And I'm trying everything. And then I thought, you know what? Hold on a second. Let me just jump on to the 8-Bit Do's website and find the manual and see what it's telling me to do. And I did, and it was telling me to make sure that the firmware update was installed on the receiver and make sure that the DualSense controller was also up to date. So I did that. They were both up to date according to my computer and my PlayStation. So everything was fine. And then I went through the instructions again, and then I realized that I was actually what I thought was pairing was just literally holding down the PlayStation button on the controller to switch it on. But then I didn't realize that wasn't really pairing mode. So it told me to use the create button and the PlayStation button, hold them both down at the same time, and then they'll both blink, and then it'll be a solid blue once it has been connected. And lo and behold, that actually worked. So I was like, wow, Fuji, why didn't you do that in the first place? It's fine. But today I got the controller paired up. I got it working. I played a little bit of a game and I was so stoked. You have no idea how happy I am. It means that I can now go back and play my PS1 games on my huge ass TV. And I am very much looking forward to doing that. I am like really, you have no idea. My smile right now is kind of like ear to ear because I'm like so excited that I'm going to be able to play my PS1 games again. I never thought in my wildest dreams that I'd be able to go back and play PS1 games. And these are games that I haven't gone through all of them yet, but these are games that I don't think are ever going to get a remastered port over to the PS5. Never gonna happen. So I was like, I want to play these games again because I know they're not going to get remastered in any way, shape, or form. It'd be a miracle if it does. I'd be celebrating through these bloody rooftops. I'd be really excited if that ever happened. But so the games that I own, and like I said at the beginning, I only have 6 PS1 games. I don't think they're ever going to get ported over. So I had to make my PS1 Slim work. It had to work. Now I've got it powered up. I have my DualSense controller connected to this PS1, and I can actually make the control work. Now, even though the DualSense controller has a lot more features to it, unfortunately, I can only use the buttons that were available on the PS1 controller. So that is what I am limited to. So I am limited to the D-pad, the original buttons on the right, and the triggers. That is it. Now, even the triggers may not work because the DualSense has haptic feedback and all that and rumble and all that. Back then, there was no rumble or haptic feedback. So this controller, literally, I'm only bound to whatever buttons the game will allow me to use, which is essentially the D-pad, the directional pad, and the buttons on the right. That's it. And the start and the select button. Nothing else. Because on the PS1 controller, I don't know if you remember, but there's no joysticks on there. No thumbsticks. And even though it had triggers, not a lot of games use them, from what I remember at least. I'm pretty sure they would have been used for other games, but for the games that I played, they weren't really used that much. So, yeah, I have a controller to use with my PS1 Slim. I am so happy. The only thing that The other thing that I also did, because I knew I had this PS1 Slim, I think it was like maybe last year, I ended up buying an AV to HDMI converter so that I can plug it in through my HDMI port on my TV. Now, I didn't realize, I forgot. That's a better word. I forgot that my Sony Bravia had the AV inputs. So technically, I didn't need them. I didn't need this converter. However, I did think about potentially maybe I could use it, and if it does work, maybe I could play it on my computer. Maybe I can create content with it, but I haven't tested that theory yet because I'm not sure whether the PlayStation 1 AV cables going through the converter coming out in HDMI, if I plug that into my game capture card, I don't know whether it's going to actually communicate between the PlayStation and the capture card. So that is another test that I need to do. Now, for those of you who are out there listening to this, if you know it's not going to work, please tell me. Please tell me. But in saying that, I'm still going to test it out for myself because you never know. Things happen. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I'm going to give that a shot, cross all of my fingers and toes to maybe hoping that it will actually connect and it'll feed the image through to my game capture card so that I can bring it up onto my computer and be able to show you all the glory that used to be the PS1 days. So I am very much looking forward to just at least playing it. Now, because it's connected to my TV at the moment, visually, now because back then it was a CRT TV, the visuals are square. The aspect ratio is square. Now, on my Sony Bravia, somehow, I'm not sure if it's fixable or not. I may have to see if I can change the screen size on the remote. Although that was another thing I had to buy new. My Sony TV's remote, unfortunately, the battery compartments, there were old batteries in there that died, but I didn't realize they had also corroded. So the battery compartment of that TV's remote is now just got a lot of battery acid in there. So no other batteries are going to make that remote work. So I kind of had to go out of my way to buy another one. But unfortunately, because this was also a third-party one through Amazon, but looks exactly the same, not all the buttons work on my TV, unfortunately. So it's getting to a point where I'm going to probably need an upgrade on my TV. But for now, it's still kicking on. But yeah, anyway, so I need to figure out if I can change the aspect ratio on my TV or somehow, because the image is not centered on my TV. It's actually off to the left. So there's a black bar going down the right side of my screen, and it's like a hand width. It's like a hand width wide black band on the right side of my screen. So the game screen has shifted across for some strange reason. I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether it's cutting off anything on the left side or whether it's just adjusting itself to the screen, thinking that this is the size it is, and because it doesn't know how to center, I don't know. I'm hoping it's not cutting anything off on the left side and it's just, on the edge of the left side and just up to where it's showing me on the screen. Anyway, the PS1 Slim works. That is the main thing. So, going back to before I got distracted and telling you all how I got the PS1 Slim to work, to the games that I actually own. Now, another game on the PS1 that I have is Crash Bandicoot 2. Not Crash Bandicoot 1. No. Crash Bandicoot 2 Cortex Strikes Back. I don't know whether I ever owned the first one. I don't know whether I ever played the first one. But I have the second one. I'm pretty sure this particular game has been ported over. Is this one part of the Insane trilogy? I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember. Someone will have to, or maybe I can actually look it up, because I actually have the Insane trilogy on my backlog right now. And I have played a little bit of it. But I just haven't, I haven't played it in a while, but I'm not sure how much, like what games completely are in there. The Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. Just looking it up at the moment. Oh, no, it is there. Okay, never mind. So it has actually been ported over. It is part of the Insane Trilogy. So Crash Bandicoot 2 Cortex Strikes Back, and Crash Bandicoot Warphead. It's no wonder I don't remember Crash Bandicoot 1, because I started playing the first one on stream, I think it was. And then as I was playing through it, for some reason, my brain is thinking, oh yeah, I remember this. But then like one half of my brain is thinking that. But then the other half of my brain is, do I remember playing that? You know that little fight you have with yourself of whether or not you remember doing something? That's kind of what was going through my brain when I was playing the first game. But I know for a fact that the moment I jump into number 2, all my memories are going to start flooding back. And all of the memories of me, rage quitting this game and getting really angry with it is going to come rushing back. Not that the first one hasn't already done that to me anyway, but the second one will definitely show me what young Fuji had to go through. So yeah, Crash Bandicoot 2 is the PS1 original copy that I own at the moment. Although I'm looking at it now because it's actually it's the original. Never mind. I, for some reason, ended up changing out some of the cases to my PlayStation games. So generally when you buy the PS1 games, the cases actually came in a black case. So the spine of the case was actually black. Whereas I don't know what happened, whether the original cases got crushed or whether they broke or maybe the lid broke or whatever. I ended up changing them over and I've got them in cases with a white spine instead. Not to mention the fact that the ones with the black spine, the original cases, they also have the PlayStation the word PlayStation written on the spine as well. So that's when I know that it's the original case, whereas some of these games are not in their original cases. The next game from the PS1, and I know I've been talking for half an hour about my PS1, but I'm very excited about playing this console with the games, the limited number of games that I have. But the next game that I will mention that I own is Disney's Atlantis: The Lost Empire. I was obsessed with the movie Atlantis. I love that movie. And I think I watched that movie so many times that I've, like, even now when I think about it, in the last 10 or 20 years, I've gone out of my way to find things like little mementos that are like memorabilia from the movie, even if they're not exactly 100% like they look like they're from the movie, but it's like a resemblance. So in the movie, they have like this this power crystal, this power source, and the members of Atlantis, the citizens of Atlantis, wear this necklace that has a crystal on it. And I ended up going on to, I think it was like Etsy, and I found someone who was making the crystals as a pendant for a necklace, and they would glow in the dark. So it was really cool when I would put it on, and then when it was pitch black in the room, the actual pendant would glow, so it would look like the same color as the crystal from the movie. So that was actually really cool. Now going back to the game itself was also pretty tough, but I don't really remember playing much of it. I've only remembered playing as much of this as, how far did I get through? So this was pretty much Atlantis the movie, but in game form. And I managed to not get very far. It's kind of similar to what happened with Bugs Bunny, although with this one I actually got a lot further. I ended up playing through till, I think, maybe, if you've seen the movie where they're in the submarine and they're making their way through to the entrance of Atlantis. So they get to the point where they've escaped the massive robotic, like, whale, I think it was. I forgot the name, honestly, but they go in, and then there's this pocket of air that they come out of into this cave, and it's the entrance point to where they're about to go through to get to Atlantis. That's pretty much as far as I've been able to get in the game itself. And it's really bugged me since then that I haven't been able to play through it even more, because I know there's more to it. I just never managed to find a way to play it. But yeah, so I need to go back and play Atlantis, The Lost Empire, I feel like. That is definitely going to be on the agenda, I think. Yeah. Oh my goodness, I've just opened up the case to the Atlantis game, and on the inside cover of the cover art, it's got an advertisement for the analog controller DualShock for PlayStation, for the PS1. I think they were slowly introducing joysticks back then. Oh my goodness. That is... Wow, that's a throwback. Holy moly. Anyway. So yeah, Atlantis, The Lost Empire. Great game if you've gone through it. I've only gotten through like the first bit of it. But I feel like I'm going to have to play it now and play through the whole thing. So once I found I wouldn't say love, but I found a liking for racing games. And another racing game that I was able to get was a game called All Star Racing by Midas Games. Yeah, that was more of a realistic racing game. So it was more so like actual race cars. That had all of the, it's got all of the sponsors all over it and the numbers and whatnot. And yeah, so All-Star Racing was the next racing game that I was able to play. And I really enjoyed it. I think I played this a lot. I played All-Star Racing so much that, yeah, I was kind of addicted to it, actually. It was one of those games where I was like, it was the only thing I really wanted to do. It was either this or the next game, which was my absolute favorite, my number one PS1 game that I ever played, and that is Anna Kournikovas Smash Court Tennis by Namco. Heck yeah, that was a great sports game. It was my, even to this day, there is a lot of tennis games out there that I have tried out. I feel like none of them really came close to the entertainment value of Anna Kournikovas Smash Court Tennis, honestly, in my opinion at least. I loved playing this game so much so that I think I played this every day when I was a kid. And you can play it with up to 2 players, but I was always playing it on my own. And it was so much fun. They had so many different courts that you can play on. They only had a select number of players that you can choose from. And a lot of those names I really don't recognize, unfortunately. The only one I do recognize is Anna Kournikova. I think there might be one of the male tennis players. I'm forgetting who it is that was on there, but that I do know of. But this particular game brings back so many good memories of me playing tennis on a console. It was just so much fun. I never wanted to put it down. I loved it so much, and I feel like I'm probably gonna go through and do the same thing all over again, and fall back in love with Anna Kournikovas Smash Court Tennis. Honestly, it was just one of my apps. It was my absolute favorite sports game. Probably one of the only sports games that I was able to play back in the day. But yes, that is my my PS1 games. So I only had 6 PS1 games that I own. I don't know whether I had any more of the let's just say questionable ones, because I did mention that I had my PS1 chipped. Not because I wanted to, but it was more because my parents just didn't want to spend more money on games. So, yeah, I don't know whether I still have those particular CDs, but if I do, they're probably pretty scratched up or they're lost in the void somewhere. I don't know, but I just can't recall what those specific games were. But if I were playing any of those games, I most likely would have been playing them over at my cousin's house, essentially. Moving on into the PS2 era. Now, PS2 came out, and how old would I have been? When did the PS2 release? PS2 release date. Thank you, Google. So the PS2 was out the same year that the PS1 Slim was released. So I was playing through on my PS1. But the PS2 had released by then. But we didn't touch it. We didn't end up going with it. Not for a good while, because eventually the PS2 Slim was then introduced. When was that? The PS2 Slim was released in 2004. So 4 years after the main release of the original PS2 console, the PS2 Slim was released. And that's when my sister wanted to get a new PlayStation console. She wanted to upgrade, and because she saw there were quite a few games in there that she wanted to play from that. Now, unfortunately, I don't know what happened to that console. Whether my sister took it with her when she moved out, or maybe my parents got rid of it. I don't know. That is, yet to be seen. I will have to ask my sister to see whether or not she knows what happened to it or whether she's actually got it on hand. Because again, I do have a select number of games in hand right here. Maybe one of which wasn't technically my choice, but was my sister's choice because she really wanted. I think she was also getting into the racing games at the time as well. So I've only got 4 games in hand right now, like physically, and I can tell you now these 4 games were probably the only games we ever played on the PS2. I know. Like we've only had a select few games that we were able to play, but that's only because my parents just couldn't afford to go out of their way to buy multiple games. Not to mention the fact that a lot of the games that were out there weren't really family friendly or kiddie friendly, so they were very hesitant on buying certain games for us. So the only ones that I do have in my hand, which one of them is a bit questionable, but anyway, so the one that my sister picked out was Gran Turismo 4, another racing game. This one my sister was really into, but we were playing this as a 2-player, so we were playing this together. And we were really enjoying it. So that was my first foray into GT. And I haven't really touched any other Gran Turismo games since then, unfortunately. But I'm pretty sure if I jumped back into them now, there'd be a big change. There'd be a big difference for sure. Especially with all the different features and the fact that it's supposed to be like a driving simulation game. Yeah, I don't know that I'd be really into it. I tried playing, what was it? It was the Formula 1 2020, sorry. Formula 1 2020, so F1 2020. I tried playing that. When I first got my PS5, I never owned a PS4. So I got my PS5 and I was trying to go through what other games I could get from a backlog, from the library, I should say. Not my backlog. I didn't have a backlog back then. And yeah, so I came across F1 2020 and I was like, oh yeah, I do like, because I worked at the Formula 1 Grand Prix for about, a decade or so, and I was really interested in it. I don't really follow it, but I was interested. So I found out, I was like, yeah, it's a racing game. Let me try it out. And I chucked it in, and then I realized the controls just were not what I expected it to be. Not to mention the fact that game took up half of my PlayStation storage space. So that was a big nope. I noped out of that game very quickly, traded that game in very quickly, deleted it off my console, and never saw another Formula 1 game ever again. But I assume that Gran Turismo is going to be similar in that respect, that it's going to have a huge file size and the fact that it's going to be a lot different to what I remember back on PlayStation 2. But it was good fun. The Gran Turismo 4, really enjoyed it, especially when I was playing with my sister. The 2-player aspect of it was quite fun. So yeah, there was that. So we had, GT4 on the PS2. And it's the Platinum Edition, I believe. The Platinum, the best of PlayStation 2. So this was around the time, because it was coming to the end of the PlayStation 2 life cycle, the PS2 Slim, they ended up bringing out the Platinum editions of the games. So this was a Platinum edition. Another one. So I'll preface this now. The 4 games that I have in my hand, they're all sports games. There's no other games in here, just sports games. Ended up grabbing on PS2 Athens 2004. So an Olympic Games game. So the Athens 2004 Olympics as a video game. And this one, I believe, was my choice because I really wanted to play more sports games and I wanted to try different sports. And when I found out that you could be in the Olympics in a video game, I thought, why not? That's so cool. Oh wow, EB Games had this for $29.91. Wow, because I've still got the ticket price still on there, and it had a $10. It had $10 off marked price. So technically, this game costed me $19.91. Yeah, cheap for a video game. It was only $20. I think my parents were okay with that. But yeah, so Athens 2004, the official video game of the Olympic Games, as it says on the back. And I really liked I think I played the swimming. I think the swimming one was the swimming event was the one that I really enjoyed the most. There were some track and field ones, like the athletics ones, that I didn't mind. There was also weightlifting. There was other events as well. However, I'm not sure that I played very many of them. But, that was that one. So I played that and I really loved it. Also, Platinum Edition. Another game that I don't know if this was my choice, actually. I think this might have been my sister's choice. This game is a fighting game. Guess which fighting game? Yep. Tekken 5. I do remember playing Tekken a bit in my youth. Tekken 5, I'm going to say, was potentially my sister's choice. But we both enjoyed playing it together because it was another 2-player game. And I believe we just did the whole button mashing thing. So yeah, that was us playing our games, and Tekken 5 was one of those games that we really enjoyed together. So yeah, that was by Namco as well. And I don't really remember too much of Tekken 5. The only thing I really remember is just the button mashing aspect of it, and just beating the crap out of each other whenever we played together. But then getting really frustrated when I played solo, and then the NPC would always win, and then I'd rage quit sometimes. But I really enjoyed Tekken 5. So that was another game. I think that was also not my introduction to it, because I know that growing up playing with cousins, they would have had the other older fighting games. Like, I know for a fact that I've played Mortal Kombat on one of their consoles. I'm pretty sure I've played Street Fighter as well. So Tekken 5 is definitely way after that. But yeah, Tekken 5. Not any of the other Tekkens, just straight to 5. It's weird. But yeah, another Platinum Edition as well of that. Now, the only one that wasn't a Platinum Edition that we bought brand new on PS2, and this was most likely my choice, and you'll understand why. And it's Perfect Ace the Champion. Yes, that's right, folks. Another tennis game. I think the fact that I had such a big love for Anna Kournikova Smash Court Tennis on the PS1 that I really wanted another tennis game, and I was really hoping that it would be similar in that respect. Unfortunately, Oxygen Games, who were the developers for this particular game, they made it look a bit more realistic, where Anna Kournikova Smash Court Tennis was a bit more cartoony. Perfect Ace the Championship was a bit more realistic in their visuals, in their art style. I think they had a really good go at it. They had licensed players in there, including Tim Henman, if anyone remembers him, because I don't. Uh, and they had different modes. This was also up to 2 players. They had a player editor mode in here, so you could actually edit the look of your players. They had a full international career mode. They had so many different stadiums and new player models and animations. And I mean, it was an interesting tennis experience. According to what it says on the back here, advanced motion blending to give total control over player movements and an ultra real tennis experience. Yeah, very, very real. But yeah, so I have a feeling this was definitely my choice. I was definitely the person who would have picked this one to play, being that it was a tennis game. I don't know, for some reason I was just really obsessed with tennis back then. I'm not sure why. And then here I am as an adult, and in the last 10 years in the last 7 years? Yeah, in the last 7 to 8 years I've worked at the tennis. I don't know. Kind of came around full circle. But that was my PS2 era of games. Like I said, not very many games, but some nonetheless. And now we're moving into my favorite era of PlayStation. You know, the PlayStation 3. Yes, that's right, everyone. PlayStation 3 was my favorite PlayStation console. I really loved it because it shows in the number of games I bought when I had it. So, again, I didn't buy the PS3 at launch. Now, when did the PS3 release? I'm just going to have a quick squiz. PS3 release date was back in 2006. Now, in 2006, I was in high school. And in 2006, I was in year 12. I was in my final year of high school. So I would have been 17, 18 years old back then. And yeah, I'm showing my age. So the PlayStation 3, first released 2006 in November, at the end of my high school life, because in November, that's when our exams began. Anyway, we didn't end up getting it when it first released. Same as we did with the PS1 and the PS2. We also waited until the PS3 had a slim edition. So I ended up getting the slim edition of the PS3, but not the one with the sliding cover on the top. The one that I ended up with was the one where you insert the disc from the front. That was my PS3 Slim. That is the one that I still have. And the PS3 Slim was actually released in 2009. So that was 3 years after the original release of the first PS3 console. This family is notorious for waiting for Slims, it seems. We always went for the slim editions of the consoles. And because I was also a young adult, I was pretty much turning 18, the age where most Australians start, most Australian teens, as soon as they turn 18, they get their probationary license to drive, because it means they get to drive on their own and not with a supervised drive and not with a supervisor next to them. It was also the age where we could go out drinking. Yes, America, here our drinking age is 18, which is kind of dangerous, to be honest. But that's just the legalities here. That's the law. I'm not a big drinker, so it doesn't really bother me. Yeah, 18. 2009, that was when I turned 21. So 2009 was when the Slim came out. And so that is, I think, around the time when I actually got my Slim, my PS3 Slim. And with that, I went through a plethora of games. Now, I say I've got a bunch of games and I still have them here. However, a lot of them are part of the same franchise. So don't at me if I tell you how many games I have here that are from the same franchise. So it doesn't really classify as me playing many different games. I tried. I really did. I tried to branch out in many different ways, but a lot of them are going to be from the same franchise in some respect. And I think a lot of you are starting to already guess what they are if you know who I am and the type of games I play. So, on the PS3, I ended up playing a lot of the Lego games. Yes, the Lego games. They were kind of my favorite ones on the PS3. I was trying to collect them for some reason as if I needed to. I don't know that I would enjoy all of them. Let me see which ones I've got here out of the box. Okay, so we'll start with, and I had them in alphabetical order, but that's not how I bought them. Lego Batman. Lego Batman 2 DC Superheroes. Harry Potter Years 1 to 4. Harry Potter Years 5 to 7. Indiana Jones 2. The Adventure Continues. Marvel Superheroes. Disney Pirates of the Caribbean. Lego Rock Band. Star Wars The Complete Saga. That is not all of them, but these are the ones that I bought for myself. These were the ones that I wanted to buy. I feel like back then I may have wanted one or two other ones that I never got around to picking up. However, these are the ones that I have now. I will also mention one of these Lego games is still in its plastic seal. Yeah, I haven't played it yet. You want to know which one that is? Lego Batman 2. I have not opened that game. I have not touched it. It is sealed away in perfect condition. It could be worth something. I don't know. But whether or not I go out of my way to sell it, that's another thing. I don't know whether I will. Because there's a possibility I may end up playing it at some point. Because who knows? PS3 can be captured on an Elgato game catcher card. So I think I might just do that. So they're all the Lego games that I ended up buying. I've played through most of them, and I know that a few of them have been ported over to the new gen consoles, like Lego Harry Potter got a port over and they ended up doing a full, like the full, like book 1 to 7 or the movies 1 to 7 as one whole game, or at least in one pack, in one cartridge on the Switch, because that's the version I ended up buying, so that I could play it on the new gen console. And I think the Lego Star Wars The Complete Saga. However, back then the Complete Saga was only 1 to 6, whereas now the Complete Saga, is the Skywalker Saga, I should mention, is actually 1 to 9. So, not to mention the fact that Skywalker Saga edition of Lego Star Wars, same but different. There's a lot of extra features in that game, and I believe I also bought that one on the Switch as well. So So yeah, I do remember playing a lot of Lego Star Wars on my PlayStation 3. I do also remember playing a lot of Lego Harry Potter, 1 to 4, and then 5 to 7. And I also remember playing a lot of Pirates of the Caribbean. They were probably my favorite of the Lego games. The other ones, Lego Rock Band, obviously that was just a rhythm-based game with Lego characters, so I played that a lot as well. But the other ones that I do have, I didn't play as much. I think it may have been more so the fact that my fandom for those games, or at least for the franchise they're from, I wasn't really big on them back then, but I bought the games anyway. I know that there was a Lego Jurassic Park and a Lego Lord of the Rings, but I never bought those ones purely because at the time I had never watched the movies. I still haven't watched Jurassic Park or World because I refuse to. That's a discussion for another podcast episode. But since then, I have seen Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, all of the movies in their extended editions. And I'm I don't know that I'm regretting not buying the Lego Lord of the Rings game. However, I am sad that I missed out on actually playing that game, or at least picking it up so that I had it in my collection, so that eventually when I did watch those movies, then I could be like, hey, I can go play the game now in Lego form. That would have been fun. But I'm hoping that at some point they will port over some of the other Lego games over to the new gen consoles like they have with Harry Potter and Star Wars. And I think they did that. Did they do that with Marvel? I think they did with the Marvel superheroes. I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember. But anyway, if they do end up porting over those games, I might actually pick them up. I won't worry about Jurassic Park. I know I haven't watched the movies. It's not going to happen. So there's no point me buying the game. It's fine. It doesn't bother me too much. But moving on from the Lego the Lego franchise of video games from PS3, the other games, the other major franchise of games that I ended up buying and playing were the Guitar Hero ones and the Band Hero one. So I do have quite a few of the Guitar Hero games. I ended up getting the Guitar Hero Warriors of Rock bundle that came with the whole band set of instruments on the PS3, and I ended up, so it came with the drum kit, came with the guitar, and I believe it also came with a microphone so that you could do the singing as well. So I had those. I still have that. It's packed away right now, but I still have it. It's in its box. But I played a lot of Guitar Hero, especially with friends back then, because I love music. I love listening to it. I love singing along with it. Music brings me a lot of joy. And it also, it pumps me up when I need when I need to be pumped up for like ice hockey games. It makes me feel better when I'm feeling upset or sad. Music just has that thing where whatever emotion you're feeling, there's a song for it. And there's a way to move past whatever emotion you're feeling through music. And so being able to play Guitar Hero was just so... Sometimes it was really cathartic because I would want to listen to music, but I'd also want to play the game. So I thought this is a great way for me to do it. The only thing that I will say, a lot of the Guitar Hero games were mostly rock songs or rock titles. which I don't mind. I honestly don't. I do like I do like rock music and alternative rock and punk rock and just like the different subgenres under the rock genre or genre name. But when it came to the actual game itself, a lot of the playlists on these games were mostly rock titles. But I don't think it really matters, to be honest. So I'll go through the games that I have here physically. So I have Band Hero, Guitar Hero 5, Guitar Hero Aerosmith, Guitar Hero Greatest Hits, Guitar Hero Van Halen, Guitar Hero Warriors of Rock, obviously it came with the bundle, and Guitar Hero World Tour. Now, I know a lot of these will also have your pop songs and your hip hop songs and other than just rock songs. But if you went into a lot of if you went into the Van Halen one, Warriors of Rock, Aerosmith, Guitar Hero 5, a lot of them have a lot of rock titles in here. So if I'm just having a look at some of the songs that are listed on the back of Guitar Hero 5. You had AFI, Arctic Monkeys, Blink-182, Bob Dylan, Bon Jovi, Bush, Coldplay, Dire Straits, Elton John, Iron Maiden, John Mellencamp, Johnny Cash, The Killers, Kings of Leon, Megadeth, Muse, Nirvana, Queen and David Bowie, The Rolling Stones, Santana, Smashing Pumpkins, Stevie Wonder, Tom Petty, The White Stripes, and Wolfmother. And a whole lot more. So as you can tell, the Guitar Hero series is actually kind of one of my favorites. There was a time when I did get DJ Hero, where it came with the actual DJ record spinny deck. I don't know what they call it. I'm sorry, I'm not a DJ. The DJ controller that would come with the game. But I didn't actually end up buying that one on the PlayStation. I actually ended up buying that one on the, I think it was the Wii or the Wii U. But at what, yeah, it was definitely on the Wii U, because I ended up trading it in with a bunch of other games so that I could end up buying. What did I end up buying? I ended up buying something else from EB, but I traded them in. It was on the Wii. Yeah, that's right. I ended up trading in my DJ Hero game with its peripherals, plus my Wii console and whatever else I could, so that I could upgrade to the Wii U, which is what I ended up doing. I know I could have held on to my DJ Hero. I don't know why I ended up trading it in, but it happened. And that, I feel like I kind of regret actually trading it in. I really do, because the type of tracks and songs that came with that game, that is the style, that is the genre of music that I absolutely adore. I love house and dance and trance music. Anything that you may have heard at a club potentially that wasn't, hip hop or R&B. It was mostly all the dance and techno type songs. That's the sort of stuff that I grew up on. Those are the type of songs that I listened to back then, and I still listen to that sort of stuff now. Granted, my taste in techno and house music and dance music has evolved. There are only certain styles of those genres that I do enjoy listening to. But that is another topic for another episode of the Many Thoughts I Have. So we will put a pin on that one there, and we will move on to my next batch of games, which are all, so whatever games I have left over that I haven't mentioned, they're all very random games that I have picked up over the years when I had when I was playing through the PS3. So the I did pick up Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 Remix, which I did play through a bit of it. And this was, at the time, this was a PS3 Essentials game. And I was actually enjoying playing through this game. I really liked it. And I think it was mostly because of the fact that there were a lot of Disney characters in it. And so I really enjoyed that aspect of the game. But my only issue with the Kingdom Hearts games back then was that I wasn't sure what I was doing. I had no idea what I was doing. But, I was just running around town. I was, fighting, whatever it was I was fighting against. I think they were monsters or they were ghosts of sorts. I'm sorry, I'm just like flicking through the booklet that it came with so that I could get some form of idea, but it's not giving me anything. Oh, look, there's an ad here for Final Fantasy X2 HD Remaster for the PS3 and PS Vita coming soon by Square Enix, which I never played. But yeah, I don't know whether I claimed this particular code through Square Enix. Oh well, I don't think it would work anymore anyway. Getting distracted. Sorry. Yeah. I think back then I only ended up playing certain levels. I think I got as far as Tarzan, I think it was. I think the Tarzan world, that's as far as I got in 1.5 Remix. And I think I may have stopped there and I didn't really go back to it. So yeah, it was abandoned, unfortunately. I did, however, at the time, I did pick up Kingdom Hearts HD 2.5 Remix. And although it doesn't have the plastic wrap on it, I don't think I ever played it. When did I buy this? Oh my goodness, the receipt's still in here. Holy moly. Wow, 2014. Wow. Did I leave It says I left a deposit. Oh my gosh, this was a pre-order. This was a pre-order? My goodness. It was a pre-order and I never played it. I am so sorry to anybody who's listening to this. You're probably yelling at me for not having played it. Yeah, let's pop these away, shall we? I know that these games were ported over to the PS4, and I think you can also do a PS5 upgrade on it to be able to play on your PS5 as well. So I'm pretty sure it was also part of the PlayStation Plus catalog, maybe, in the extra tier. I'm not sure. I do remember claiming it. Whether or not I can actually play it is another thing, because I don't know whether they've delisted it yet from the catalog itself. So I might have to look into that. That might be another game that I have to go into. Also, I don't even know what genre Kingdom Hearts is. What genre is Kingdom Hearts? You're probably yelling at me right now. Kingdom Hearts genre, I'm pretty sure, was an RPG. Yes, there it is. Kingdom Hearts was an RPG game, mostly, I believe. It was a platforming. For me, it felt like a platformer, to be honest. But I think it was an action RPG. Okay, thank you, Wikipedia. Yeah, I think that might have been my first foray into RPGs. So if I've said that I never played RPGs until recently, I lied. So I apologize. again, I'm like, I'm hiding, I'm hiding secrets, I'm lying. This is not good, Fuji. How dare you? How could you do this to peoples? Yeah. Holy crap. I had no idea that that was an RPG. Honestly, back then, I had no idea about genres in gaming. I just thought a game was a game was a game, and I was just playing through them. I didn't even think about the fact that they were specific genre games. But I believe, yeah, Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 Remix was my first RPG. Go figure. Yeah. The more you know. Yeah, might have to play it. Might have to go back to it. Anyway, moving on to the other single random games that I ended up picking up. Have you noticed that there hasn't been a sports game yet? Well, fear not, my friends. I did pick up a sports game, and that was NHL 15. Yes. Before I even thought about ice hockey, I decided to play an ice hockey game. I believe, when was this? NHL 15. I don't have a receipt in here, which means I can't tell you when I bought it. But it is most definitely the OG EA Sports NHL 15. I don't recognize the player on the front cover, but it's a Bruins player. So, Court, if you're listening, you might know. Yeah, this was in 2014. There it is. Oh, okay. If it was 2014, that would have been around the time that I first started skating and learning how to play ice hockey. And so I was very, very interested when I saw, because that was around, because I had a PS3, that was around the time that I started getting into video gaming, and when I was coming out of my nerd shell, essentially. I was a closeted nerd. So yeah, NHL 15 was around the time when I first started learning how to skate, how to play ice hockey. I think I was taking lessons around that time. And so I ended up picking up this game. I think I played it once or twice, and then I dropped off and abandoned it. I think it's mostly because of the fact that I had never played a hockey game previously to this. And so it was very foreign to me trying to play the game. And the fact that at the time I was still learning how hockey worked, the rules of the game and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, this was more of a, oh, look, it's about hockey. Maybe I can learn something from it. And I bought it. And then I only played it a little bit and left it. It is technically the only NHL game I own, but it was also the only sports game I played on the PS3 that I owned. Surprisingly, no tennis game. I know. Shocking. But fear not. Tennis game, for me, wasn't on the PS3. It was on the Wii. But this is not the episode to talk about it, because we're talking PlayStation today. So yeah, NHL 15, only sports game on the PS3 that I played, that I owned. I also have, what else have I got here? So I played, so here are some of the fighting games that I played on the PS3. So I have Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Fate of Two Worlds, which I don't think I played very much of, because it was, when was this? Oh, wow. Okay, so this is weird, because I'm seeing the price tag that's on the cover of this game. It's not cheap. So the original price from EB Games, $109.90 Australian dollars back then when this released, which was back in, I think, when was it? And 20 something. I don't know. Anyway, that was the price tag. at EB Games, but it had the 50% off sticker on it. So 50% off 110 means it was $55. Back then, a PS3 game was over $100. Over $100. Wow. I honestly would have thought it was going to be a lot cheaper back then compared to what it is now, where video games are very expensive now. Yeah. Wow. Marvel vs. Capcom. That was yeah. I don't know what else to say. I don't think I really touched this game that much, to be honest. So, yeah, I might have to jump into that game at some point and see why I didn't play much of it. The other fighting game that I picked up pre-owned. So this one was a pre-owned game. Was Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe. And yes, I played this one a lot. I think I was playing through the story mode of the DC Universe side of things. And I was really enjoying it. And then I stopped. Not sure why. Again, I never know. But yeah, this was a pre-owned game that I picked up for 50 Australian bucks from EB. And yeah, I had good fun with this one, actually. Yeah, because growing up, I really enjoyed playing Mortal Kombat as a kid, and because I learnt it from my cousins, of course. So I really did like playing this particular game. So when I did see it, I immediately wanted to buy it. And yeah, I think I played through most of the DC storyline. But I didn't go back to do the Mortal Kombat storyline. But unless I'm remembering incorrectly, and they were both in the same story mode somehow, I'm not sure. Again, it's one of those things where I'm going to have to go back and play. Massive backlog over here, folks, honestly. And this is like back when it was on PlayStation 3. I've already got my own backlog now. And I'm thinking about going back and playing all these old games. Why do I do this to myself? I don't know. And then the last game that I own on the PS3 after all this time was one that was recommended to me by a friend. And that's Portal 2. So I never played the first Portal, and I jumped into Portal 2. Mostly because at the time I was speaking to an online friend, and they recommended to me that I should check out Portal 2 because it's a 2-player and you can play it online, which was pretty cool. So I ended up grabbing it so that we can play together. And I was really enjoying it, to be honest. I don't know why. The thing is, I never finished it. I never finished Portal 2. So when I first started streaming, which would have been about 2018, 2019 was when I technically first started streaming. Although a lot of you wouldn't have known about me, purely because that was when I was sort of I was streaming under the Fred the Alien Productions name, or Incompetent Gamers, I should say, but on the Fred the Alien Productions channel, which is the crew that I podcast with, a podcast called Fred, which is the pop culture podcast that I do with them every week. So they had a series on their YouTube channel called Incompetent Gamers, and that's where I started off my streaming journey. And I decided I was going to play Portal 2, and in that instance, I wasn't playing it on my PlayStation, I was playing it on PC. So I ended up buying Portal 2 again on PC, and I played it through on stream, which was really fun. And I was getting stuck in some of the puzzles because because even though I have it on PS3, I never finished it on PS3 because I was only playing the 2-player mode side of things. I never actually really played through much of the single player story mode section. But when I ended up streaming, I was like, this is a game I definitely want to go back to, so I want to go play it and check it out. So Portal 2, I played on stream on PC, and I always had one or two people in the chat that was helping me out who had already played it, and it was really nice. It was really cool to have someone help me out through the puzzles that I was getting stuck at. And then I managed to finish off the game. I actually finally found out whether we got cake at the end. And then recently, in the last couple of years, I think, I ended up going back and grabbing the first Portal game on PC. And I really, really enjoyed playing through that. And I played that one on stream as well, most recently in the last, I think, year or two. And it was really good. I really enjoyed Portal. So Portal 2, I don't know if that was the last game I bought specifically, but that's definitely the last title that I'm reading out to you all. That ends the PS3 portion of the of my PlayStation era of gaming. So I did mention earlier in the episode that I actually skipped out on PS4. Now, I believe the main reason would have been that my gaming phase was on pause during that time, and I was really focused on. I think I was studying at the time. I went to uni as an adult, and then I was trying to find my way through the workforce, trying to find jobs after I had finished uni, and I was just trying to figure out what I wanted to do in terms of a career. And so I think during the PS4 era, I ended up skipping it completely. Which is a real shame, because I know that there are quite a lot of really amazing games that have come out on the PS4, although I wouldn't have known because I wasn't in that space, in the gaming space. And I don't think a lot of my friends were really playing PS4 games either. And by this point, obviously, I'm not really in touch with any of my cousins anymore. So, and they've probably moved on with their own lives, and I don't know whether they play video games anymore or not. But yeah, I literally just skipped out on the PS4 era, which frankly is still kind of holding strong, because the store that I work at, we sell gaming consoles, and Sony Entertainment still sends us PS4 consoles. There are not very many of them, obviously, only like 3 every so often, like every 3 to 6 months, we might get 3 or 4 PS4 consoles sent out to us. But only the 500 gigabyte slim version. Because we still have a lot of people asking for it, especially at the demographic of our store. A lot of them are very sort of middle class workers. They don't really really earn a lot of money, so going out of their way to spend like $800 on a new gen console is not really something they want to do. So the PS4 console works out better for them, and that's $800 Australian, by the way. Any price points that I mention, unless I specify that it's USD or some other currency, it's always going to be Australian dollars. Just be aware of that. I know I should have mentioned this way before and at the beginning of the podcast, but now you know for future reference. But I'll probably still end up saying Australian dollars just because it's gonna happen. So yeah, PS4s are still pretty popular here, although we're still receiving a lot of PS5 consoles. Obviously, the old PS5 console has now been the design has been shelved. They've moved on to the slim section, which is honestly has been, I think it's kind of on par. If I'm remembering correctly from what I've been seeing, I think it's been every 3 to 4 years. I think every 4 years. Yeah, every 4 years of the PlayStation cycle, whenever the new console comes out, they bring out the slim version 4 years late, 4 years down the track in its life cycle. So I think they're kind of on point with their releases of the slim versions of the consoles. I'm not quite sure if that, I didn't really look into it. Maybe that's something I should do. Give me a second. If I look at, was it PS4 release date? So PS4 came out in 2013. And then the Slim came out in, when was it? 2013, 2017? 2016, 2016, 2017. Okay. They're kind of on point with the life cycle of where the slim versions have been rolling out. So it makes sense that the PS5, mind you, the PS5 Slim came out the end of last year. So that's like three years instead of 4. That's a shorter lifespan. Wow. Okay. That's very interesting. So we'll probably see the Slim last for another, maybe another 3 years, I would say. And then they'll probably start the announcement rollout of the new PS6. Wow. I don't know whether I'll be going ahead with that. But yeah, going back to the PS4, I skipped it. There was a lot of good games on there. But lucky for me, I ended up getting the PS5 console for the first time in my PlayStation life. I bought it day one instead of waiting for the Slim Edition. If I had have waited for the Slim Edition, I would have waited a very long time and I wouldn't be able to talk to you about PlayStation right now. I mean, I still could have, but I feel like I would have missed out on a lot of different PlayStation games. So in this instance, I'm okay with the fact that I ended up getting the PS5 console day one edition when it first released, because I was lucky enough to be able to get one at the time. You have no idea how lucky I was to even get that console. Because at the time, it was so scarce. Everybody wanted it. Everybody needed it. And luckily, when I first started working at the store that I'm working at and ended up being lucky enough to grab a console, like, I think it was like 3 weeks after it was released. When another batch rolled around, the staff were like, our manager was like, okay, there's only a limited number here. Let me know if you want one, and you can grab one, but you have to buy it today. So I'm like, all right, let me check my accounts to see if I can make this work. And I was able to, and I'm glad I did, because now I have been playing quite a lot of games, and I'm so glad that it's backwards compatible as well. So I've been playing a lot of games from the PS4 era, and just going through the number of different games that were there. I will say, unfortunately, I haven't gotten around to playing many of the fighting games the way that I used to. Not that I played that much of them when I was growing up anyway. I didn't really own many. But I haven't played many of the fighting games, which is a shame because there's been quite a lot of good ones. The only thing for me is the fact that these PS5 games, the price point is just too much. They're very expensive. So I haven't played very many of the PS5 games. Not to mention the fact that the dang console doesn't have much storage space, and one game just takes up a quarter of the storage space, and that pisses me off to no end. So only recently, like very, very recently, did I buy myself an expansion SSD, internal SSD for my PlayStation that I only just recently installed. So even now that I think about it, though, I still feel like it's not going to be enough. But yeah, I'm kind of put off of buying games that I know will take up a lot of space on my console. Because that's what happened when I ended up buying my first Final Fantasy game, Final Fantasy 16. And I installed that sucker, and it took up almost 3/4 of my storage space was gone. I had to delete games from the main console storage just so that I can install Final Fantasy 16. But you know what? I have no regrets because I really loved that game. It was so good. And I am definitely going to go back and finish off all the side quests so that I can then go ahead and get the DLC and da-da-da-da-da-da. But I honestly, if you tell me how many PlayStation exclusive games I've played, I can probably count them on one hand. Don't at me. Not yet anyway. But yes, so I haven't played very many PlayStation exclusive games. I have my reasons. But the one that I will say that I loved so much was the one that came with the console, and that was Astrobot's Playroom. Loved it. It's one of my favorite games on the console. Absolutely love that game. I am a big platforming gamer, if you haven't already noticed. Although it's kind of hard to tell with the mixture of games that I've played over the different generation of consoles. Anyway, but yes, Astro Boy's Playroom, amazing game, so good. And the other exclusive game, PlayStation exclusive game that I have played is I'm blanking on the name. What was it again? Oh, it was there, and then it just flew away. Damn. Well, I know most recently, within the last 6 months, I played through Uncharted Drake's Fortune. So the first Uncharted game. I played through that. That was interesting. It was fun, but it's not really my style of gaming, but I still enjoyed it for what it was. And now I know a little bit of the lore behind Nathan Drake. Oh, what was the other? It's gonna kill me. Hold on, I'm gonna check my shelf of games. I'm pretty sure it's here somewhere. That's right. I just remembered, and it's not and I don't have the physical for it either. It was Ratchet and Clank. I ended up playing through Ratchet and Clank on my PS5. That was actually quite fun. I don't think I finished it though. I think I've gotten very close to the end of it, but I don't think I finished it. So it has been abandoned. I may need to go back and finish it. But yes, so Astrobot's Playroom, Ratchet and Clank, Uncharted Drake's Fortune. They're the games that are PlayStation exclusive that I've played so far on the PS5. I do own Horizon Zero Dawn, and I know that I can play God of War 2018 through the PlayStation Plus extra tier, which is the one that I have. I do also, because I've played through, so the Uncharted game that I have is the Nathan Drake's collection. So I've played the first one. I still have another, I think, 2 more to go. So I still have those. So I own that. And what else? Oh, I've got Sackboy: A Big Adventure. I do own that. I played through quite a bit of it so far. Really enjoying it. It's really good. It's very cute. Oh, yeah, that's right. I do remember playing Little Big Planet back in the day. I don't remember what happened to my copy of that, to be honest. I do remember playing it. I just don't know what happened to the actual copy of that game. I might have to look into that, but it's disappeared. That's probably why I keep forgetting, because, the whole out of sight, out of mind thing. What you don't see, you forget. It's kind of what happened with me right now. And now I'm remembering. I did play Little Big Planet back in the day. I just don't have the physical copy to remember that I had played it. But yeah, Sackboy: Big Adventure, really good. I am planning on playing the other PlayStation games that I do own. I just haven't gotten around to them because I've got a major backlog of other games that I've been trying to get through, including the ones that are on the PlayStation Plus extra tier library, which doesn't help me. But I'm really loving the fact that I can go back and play older games on a new gen console, which is why I'm glad I have the PS5. So yeah, I think, I know I could drone on about the PS5 console and all the games that I've been playing on that, apart from what I've already mentioned, but I think I'm going to leave that here for now, just because A, it's getting quite late here in Melbourne. It is now midnight, and B, my mouth and throat are so dry that I'm coughing up lungs, and I don't like it. So we can put a pause on the PlayStation talk for now, especially because I can probably, mumble on about PlayStation games for a little bit longer, which is really weird because I grew up being more of a Nintendo gamer more so than a PlayStation one, considering how many games that I actually own on the previous consoles. I don't really buy very many games, but now that digital's a thing, yeah, I'm in trouble. I'm in a lot of troubles. But yeah, so thank you everybody who have been listening to me. If you've gotten to this point, well done. GG's for getting this far. I didn't expect you to get this far, but thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I wasn't expecting to go on for almost 2 hours myself. But yeah, I feel like I just had a lot to say about PlayStation, it seems. But if you want to hear me talk more about PlayStation, for those of you who aren't already aware, I am one of the new co-hosts on Carpool Gaming's The PlayStation Drive. So if you want to hear me talk more about video games and PlayStation in general, you can head over to carpoolgaming.com and you'll find all of the links that you need to there, including merch. There's a about the team section on that website as well, and all of their new content gets uploaded onto that website. But if you just want to come and see me and the crew talk about PlayStation, you can head over to youtube.com/Carpool Gaming, and you'll be able to find all of our content over there, including the other podcasts that Carpool Gaming does and other content that they post, like game reviews, and just, fun shorts and all that sort of stuff. So go check it out. The PlayStation Drive goes live, and I'm going to give it to you in Australian time, Sundays at 2:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time, which is Saturday nights at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to see us live talk about all things PlayStation, you can definitely do that on the weekends. But other than that, I also am on the Twitch and YouTube myself. If you want to check out my content, you can. And youtube.com/foolishfuji. I go live 2 to 3 times a week. I'm also on Twitch, twitch.tv/foolishfuji. And you can come and join me as I play through some games. I'm now more of an indie gamer these days because there's so many amazing indie games that I really want to get to, and it's my way of spotlighting indie game developers and just, showing off their talent to everybody because they're so good. So if you want to see a lot more indie games being played, you can definitely come over to see me. But yeah, I think we're gonna call it a day here. Thank you everybody for joining me. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Many Thoughts I Have. If you'd like to check out more of my content or follow me on my socials, you can head over to foolishfuji.card.co. That's card with 2 R's for all the links and a whole lot more. That's it from me. Remember to look after yourself and your mental health, and happy thinking, friends.